There is a major difference between financial planners and retirement planners, and that's why, and there's a lot of noise out there surrounding what type of advisor you have, but I think the first thing to establish is that retirement planning as a profession, as a specialty, really hasn't been around for much longer than about 20 years. And the reason that it became so important was folks lost pensions.
Sure.
And so now retirement income planning especially is super important. But then that, kind of led to even greater area of expertise, which is not just the income planning component, but it's also the tax planning component, the healthcare planning component, the business succession planning component of it, if you are a business owner, benefits decisions, all of the things that surround retirement planning. And I think the important thing for our viewers to understand is that retirement planning is very much founded and grounded in the academia. It's very much about how do we make numbers work over time, as opposed to financial planning, which is how do we create a path forward for the next 20, 30, 40 years to accumulate resources. Retirement planning is we've gotten to a certain destination, how do we make those resources last? And that's a very different topic of conversation. And what we see folks run into time and time again is they're trying to create a retirement plan oftentimes themselves because their financial planners that they're working with, quite frankly, don't have a focus on retirement planning. And that's as a result of how the industry is comprised. Most people that are considered financial advisors just quite literally don't have that retirement planning expertise. The easiest way to think about this is that retirement planning encompasses financial planning. So in other words, all retirement planners that you're going to work with are going to understand financial planning. We're going to understand investment management. We're going to understand income planning. We're going to understand how taxes affect you, et cetera, et cetera. All financial planners don't necessarily understand retirement, right? They might be able to talk about retirement accounts. They might know what an IRA is, right? But that doesn't mean that they're well versed in the distribution phase of your life, which is a very fancy way of saying that you're going to need to start using your money as income to maintain your standard of living. So really, when we think about financial planners, we're thinking about an accumulation stage or a growth stage of our money. When we're thinking about retirement planners, we're thinking about a path for effective distribution. And how do we do that in the most tax efficient manner? How do we do that in the most secure manner? How do we do that maintaining our buying power with inflation considered?
How it all works together.
How all of that works together. And so it's very much a specialty. And that's why you go to places like the American College of Financial Services and get a retirement income certified professional designation like I did, which amounts to about a 2-year course that, are dozens of courses about all of these separate subtopics, including how Social Security is calculated down to the fraction, right? Like all of these things are very important.
So when looking at your retirement, it can sometimes be confusing and somewhat overwhelming on where you should house your decades of savings. So today, we're going to go over and discuss Casey's 3-bucket approach and why he uses it with his clients.
Yeah, and the 3-bucket approach, Morgan, really comes from decades of academic study, and it's really the foundational philosophy for how we invest funds for our clients at our firm. And the reason we do it this way is in retirement, you're in a distribution phase rather than an accumulation phase. And this is really quite literally. So in other words, you're not so focused on growing your money as much, although you do want to continue to grow it, but now you need to rely on your money in order to live, right? So the 3 buckets are quite literally different locations for your money. And the reason we do it that way is because not every tool solves the same job. So the analogy I like to use is if I'm building a house, right? We're in big trouble if I'm using a bag of hammers. Or a bag of screwdrivers, or if I'm using a jackhammer to put in my plumbing.
Not good.
No, it's not good. So we need to be using the appropriate tools to solve each job correctly. And that's the genesis and quite literally the reason we use those 3 buckets the way we do.
So let's kind of dive into the 3 buckets. We're saying 3 buckets from, I guess in a layman's description.
Yeah.
Kind of describe what that is. So if somebody's sitting at home, they're watching this,
Yeah.
tell me about those 3 buckets.
Well, so purpose determines placement. So we first have to determine what the purpose of our money is, and there's multiple targets that everybody wants to hit. But for the layman, you want to have enough money in the bank to handle emergencies, and that would be considered green money if it's FDIC insured. It's safe, it's not going anywhere, and you're able to use it for emergency expenses. You also want to have enough money that's guaranteed to be safe to create income for you, because when you retire, you're not going to have replacement income from anywhere else. You'll have Social Security, hopefully you'll have a pension. Most people have looked at that and realized it's not going to cut the mustard. So the question we ask our clients is, do you want to underlive your retirement? Most people don't want to underlive their retirement. So if we want to maintain our standard of living, we build out what's called a foundational income floor.
Okay.
That would also be considered green money. That's money we do not want to go to the gambling table with. It's money we know we need to have to survive. The third bucket is the stock market. It's domestic equities, international equities, it could be bonds, it could be ETFs, it could be mutual funds, any variable products, etc. And the key with our 3-bucket approach is that we're going to make sure for every client, and this is the difference between retirement planning and just financial advising, because our job is to land the plane. We're going to make sure that you have enough money for any emergencies that come your way. We're going to make sure that you have enough money to sustain your standard of living and quality of life for the rest of your life. And then if you have what's called the risk capacity, then we'll go to bucket number 3.
I tell you, think about it. When I think about green, I think about safe.
Yeah.
I think about red. I mean, there's potential there.
Yes.
But there's also risk.
Absolutely.
So the bucket strategy. So Casey, I mean, how does RetireSHIELD, let's talk about that. How is that going to solve this issue?
Well, our RetireSHIELD process is both the scope of work that we cover, but also the process we take our clients through in order to achieve their outcome. And so how we start is we have a relationship visit with you. We want to understand what your unique goals are, what your desires are, and that starts with building a relationship. You cannot have a retirement plan without a relationship. So it's as simple as picking up the phone, calling us, we get in touch with you, we understand what you're trying to accomplish. And once we understand you, then we can look at how to build a plan to ensure that the exact version of your retirement that you want to achieve is accomplished.
So Casey, let's get into this. What is secure income planning and why is it so very important to retirement?
Well, the question at a very fundamental basis that we need to be asking ourselves in retirement is, do we want income or do we want if-come? And if-come is income that we can't rely on. It's quite literally a probability-based, we hope our money is going to be there when we need it. So the foundational concept of how we approach retirement planning at Crown Haven, the first step in our RetireSHIELD process is secure income planning. So what is secure income planning? That's the first question we have to ask ourselves. Well, when we're working, when we're employed, assuming that our employment is secure, we have a secure source of income. We can base our entire lifestyle off of that, right? And we typically will budget. We'll figure out if we're doing a good job, we'll budget, right?
Right.
We'll figure out kind of what we're able to do. We're going to take care of our basic necessities. Then we're going to have some money left over maybe to save, and then do some things that we want to do, take a family vacation, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the same thing is true in retirement, only most of the financial advice industry is not focused on income planning. But that belies the fact that we still need to have secure income in retirement. So what are the sources of secure income in retirement is the next logical question.
Okay.
Well, pensions are a source of secure income if we're lucky enough to have them.
I'm going to say not many left.
Yeah, most people don't have them. Social Security is a source of secure income if it's funded, but we know that, most legislators are talking about cutting that in the near future. So then the question becomes, okay, well, we've saved in 401ks, IRAs, brokerage accounts. We've got, assets strewn about in multiple places, and we're going to have to create income from that because people look at pensions and Social Security and they know that that's not going to cut the mustard.
Right.
So, okay, the fundamental next question is, do we want to create income from something that is inherently volatile and unsafe, for which we are being charged a fee to have somebody manage it for us, or we're spending time and energy managing it ourselves in retirement? Or do we want to use a tool that is explicitly designed to create income in retirement, the same replacement income that we're trying to create from our assets in the first place. 9 out of 10 people that we talk to, once they understand how these tools work, how it changes their life, how it creates a foundational income floor in retirement so that they never have to worry about whether or not they're going to have enough money coming in to maintain their standard of living, are going to choose this tool. So now we'd like to talk about just the results for our clients, both from a numeric standpoint, but also from the human component. So what I'd like to start with is where our clients are before they talk to us. So let's talk about the typical portfolio. And this is from every big box firm. We've done thousands of diagnostics over the course of more than a decade of analysis. And the average potential return a client has in a 60-40 stock bond portfolio, and this could be actively managed or passively invested, is 4.83% on an annualized basis. So that's your potential return. The average cost of investment, regardless of whether or not you're being charged a fee, there's transaction costs, mutual fund expenses, you name it, is about 1.53% annually. The maximum drawdown during a financial crisis, a black swan event, is 38.9%. So now I want you to imagine for a second that whatever your last name is you're watching, let's call it Smith Wealth Inc. You've got Smith Wealth Inc. and you're the CFO of that business. And it's $1 million portfolio. On an annualized basis, your business can earn $48,000. You're being charged by a consultant 1.53%, so that's $15,000 a year for that consultant to earn you that $48,000 on average. And at any moment, you could wake up and your business could have lost $389,000. So the question, Morgan, is how long do you keep that business going, first of all?
Not very long.
Right. Especially, and what the consultant's going to tell you is that if that happens, hey, you know what, we're going to have better years next year.
Hang in there.
Hang in there, ride it out, you're going to be okay. The problem is that the typical length of time that it takes in order to get back is going to be significant depending upon the loss. So for example, if you experience, a 30% decline in your portfolio, it's going to take a 43% gain to get back to even. If we look historically at just what the Standard & Poor's 500 does, and we go net of fees, 7% return, that's going to take you 6 years just to get back to where you were. So the first question is, do you have that time now? The second question is, which I think is more important, is you're having to rely on this money in order to maintain your standard of living right now. And maybe if it's not right now, it's 3 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. And then this is why retirement planning is so different. Now you're going to have to contend with inflation, taxation, the continual losses that you're still exposed to, the fee for the consultant, healthcare, etc. So when we're talking about our RetireSHIELD, it's not just simply like we've got this brand new tool that we use that's so frickin' awesome and you need to talk to us. We are changing the trajectory of people's lives. So the result for our typical client, by using our 3-bucket approach with proper location between banking industry, insurance industry, and then the market, is that their potential return goes from about 4.83% to about 8%. Their average costs go from 1.53% to less than 50 basis points. Their average drawdown goes from $389,000 on that same $1 million portfolio to less than $50,000, which creates what's called an efficient horizon, which means you can rely on that money to live. And that's how you make a retirement income map go from this to this, right?
Right.
So then let's talk about the human component. What does this do for you? Well, it allows you to feel confident, knowing that you're going to be able to travel across the country to see your son or daughter, take the grandkids out for ice cream, get in an RV, travel the United States, go take the bucket list trip to Italy or France or wherever you want to go. Number one, have a team that's there, that's already set it up and knows that you're capable of doing that. So then when you call us and go, hey, we'd like to plan a trip, we model that in and we say, yes, absolutely you're capable of doing that. And here's why. And you know logically that you can. It's game-changing. It is a game-changing planning process that's based on the academia. And quite frankly, the traditional financial advisory industry, it just doesn't even compare. It's apples and chairs. It's a totally different game.
Apples and chairs, not apples and oranges. So
No,
totally different.
It's totally different.
So let's roll in RetireSHIELD. How's RetireSHIELD going to solve what has been an industry-wide issue?
Well, our mission has always been for our clients that they worry less about their money and spend more time enjoying their lives. And how we accomplish that is by first understanding who the client is on a personal level. So the first step is a relationship visit. We want to understand who you are. The reason personal finance is called personal finance is because it's personal. So, it's not about the numbers. It's about who you are, what you want to do. This is the last third of your life. You deserve to enjoy it the way you see fit. So we're going to determine what you want your life to look like. Then we're going to do an in-depth stress test on the portfolio. We call it our diagnostic, where we're going to look at how taxation, inflation, etc. impacts you. And then we're going to put together a complete plan to show you how you can solve for all those issues. And at the end of the day, you're going to have 90 pages of custom content built out completely for you that's delivered in a leather-bound binder that we have right here on set.
Well, that is all the time we have for today. We'll be back next week, but if you are looking for peace of mind in your retirement, don't wait. Remember, our lines are open 24/7, so call the number on your screen or visit RetireSHIELD.tv for your free copy of Casey's book, Baby Boomers Retirement Bootcamp, or to have a personalized RetireSHIELD plan created for you by Casey and his team of financial advisors.